my name's Megan and I'm an agent here at Sky Insurance Brokers, and today I wanted to talk to you about your auto coverage limits. Your auto coverage limits represent the maximum amount that your carrier will pay out in the event of a covered accident or total loss. So if you have an accident and you go above those limits, then you would be responsible for paying out the rest out of pocket. So let's break down your coverage amounts. Typically, when you're looking at your auto policy, you're going to see three numbers, maybe 15, 35. Those are the limits, the mandatory limits here in California. That doesn't mean $15, $30, and $5. That represents to the next thousand. So 15,000, 30,000, and 5,000. The first two numbers are for bodily injury, which would cover anything for another person's medical expenses or loss of pay. It could potentially cover lawyer fees if there were to be litigation, something of that sort. This only comes into play if you were deemed to be at fault for the accident. The first number represents how much would be paid out per person in the incident or for each accident. The second number is the total amount that will be paid out for the accidents. So if you have 15,000, 30,000, you'd be 15,000 per person. If there were more than two people in the car, you would only get 30,000 maximum. The third number is for property damage. So that would entail if you were to hit somebody else's car, or their car would be covered, or their home, fence, something along those lines. Again, this is only for if you are deemed at fault in the accident. Now, if you're not, if you weren't at fault, the other person was at fault, then their insurance policy would kick in and cover those damages. Now, you may be thinking, well, what if I'm not at fault, the other person is, but they don't have insurance? Well, that's when uninsured motorist or underinsured motorist coverage is going to come into play on your policy. This would cover if any medical expenses for yourself and your passengers up to your coverage limits for the uninsured motorist coverage. You may see UMPD coverage on your policy. This is for uninsured motorist property damage coverage. This would not be necessary if you have collision coverage on your policy, but if you don't, you want to talk to your broker or your agent and get that added on. Now in California, UMPD only covers up to $3,500, so it's not a whole lot. You may want to consider adding that collision coverage on as well. So speaking of collision coverage, those are the next two numbers on your policy. They're your deductible amounts for comprehensive and collision events. So collision, that's when you hit something with your vehicle, say another car or a pole or something stationary. Comprehensive coverage is for anything that might hit you. So if an animal were to jump out into the road, that would be covered because they jumped into your line of traffic, or maybe a rock hitting your windshield, or anything like a falling tree limb, or maybe even hail. Now, your comprehensive and your collision deductibles are different types of coverage than your bodily injury and property damage. Where bodily injury and property damage cover up to a certain amount, your comprehensive and collision are deductible amounts. So if you have $500 each for comprehensive and collision, you're going to pay that $500, and then your insurance will kick in anything after that amount. So it's a little different there. Please keep that in mind. Collision and comprehensive coverages are not required by the state of California. If your car is older and you don't really care what happens to it if you're in an accident, then you may not want to have these coverages added on to your policy. However, you would have liability and uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage only, and then your car would not be covered. The last few coverage options are completely optional. You're looking at rental coverage and maybe roadside assistance or towing coverage, medical coverage. These are all really great options, but they vary depending on your carrier. So you're definitely going to want to talk to your agent or broker about these coverages. That basically covers all of your auto coverage limits. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to give us a call or email us, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks!